Hi, and welcome to HavenLight. I'm Emily Kono, and today we're talking about something that really matters. We're talking about the difference between spiritual awakening and mental illness, and more importantly, how to tell the difference, why discernment is critical, and how to protect yourself and others in the process. Before we go any further, I need to say this clearly and responsibly. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. I am not diagnosing anyone, and this video is not a substitute for professional mental health care, medical advice, or treatment. If you or someone you love is experiencing severe distress, loss of reality testing, thoughts of self-harm, or an inability to function safely, please seek immediate help from a qualified medical or mental health professional. I want to say that right up front because this conversation can help people, but it can also harm people if it's handled irresponsibly. And I refuse to be irresponsible with something this important. We're living in a time where spiritual language is everywhere. People are talking about awakening, ascension, kundalini, divine union, downloads, timelines, and higher consciousness. And some of that language can be meaningful and even helpful. But here's the truth that doesn't get said often enough. Not every intense inner experience is spiritual awakening, and not every mental health crisis is spiritual. And sometimes both things are happening at the same time. This is where people get hurt. I've seen people encouraged to stop medication in the name of spirituality. I've seen psychosis romanticized as enlightenment. I've seen trauma reframed as being chosen. And I've seen people spiral because no one had the courage to say, hey, this needs grounding and support. So today, we're not here to argue whether awakening is real. It is. And we're not here to dismiss mental illness. That's real too. What we are here to talk about is discernment. So here's what spiritual awakening commonly looks like. A spiritual awakening isn't one single experience. It's not a checklist. It's not a badge of honor. But there are patterns that often show up. Awakening can include a heightened awareness of self and surroundings, questioning identity, purpose, and meaning, emotional release, sometimes grief, anger, or old memories surfacing, increased sensitivity to people, environments, or stimuli, a desire for truth, alignment, and authenticity, periods of confusion with insight returning over time. And this part is important. Awakening does not remove your ability to question yourself. If anything, it usually increases humility. People who are integrating awakening experiences often say things like, I'm still trying to understand this. I need time to ground this. I could be wrong. I'm learning. Awakening expands awareness, but it doesn't eliminate reality testing. What awakening is not. Awakening is not a permanent state of chaos, a reason to abandon responsibilities, a justification for superiority, an excuse to isolate from all support, a reason to stop caring for your body. Spiritual growth should ultimately lead to more presence, not less. More grounding, more compassion, more responsibility for how your actions affect others. What mental illness often looks like. Now let's talk about the other side, with compassion and clarity. Mental illness is not a moral failure. It is not a weakness. It is not a lack of faith. It is a real condition involving the brain, nervous system, trauma history, chemistry, and environment. Common indicators that point toward mental health instability can include loss of reality testing, fixed beliefs that cannot be questioned, paranoia or intense suspicion of others, grandiosity, believing you are uniquely chosen or above others, severe sleep disruption over extended periods, inability to self-regulate emotions or behavior, increasing isolation paired with absolute certainty, strong resistance to professional help or medication. Here's a key distinction. Spiritual insight tends to increase humility. Mental illness often increases rigidity. Here's where people get hurt. This is the part I feel most protective about. People get hurt when spiritual leaders tell others to stop medication. Mental health symptoms are reframed as activation or downloads. Trauma responses are spiritualized instead of treated. Vulnerable people are told they're chosen or special. Seeking help is framed as weakness or lack of faith. Any spirituality that discourages mental health care is not safe. The overlap zone. Now let's talk about where this actually gets complicated. There is an overlap. Things that can blur the line are trauma history, chronic stress or burnout, nervous system overload, substance use or withdrawal, sleep deprivation, major life upheaval or loss. In these situations, people may have spiritually meaningful experiences while also being mentally destabilized. And this needs to be said clearly. Treating the mental health side does not invalidate the spiritual side. Stabilizing the nervous system often allows insight to integrate safely. Here's a simple discernment check. Instead of asking, "Is this awakening or mental illness?" ask, "Can I tolerate being questioned? Am I grounded in my body? Am I sleeping, eating, and functioning? Can I maintain relationships? Can I manage daily responsibilities? Am I open to professional support?" If most of those answers are no, the priority is stabilization, not spiritual expansion. That's not failure. That's wisdom. Medication, therapy, and faith. I want to be very clear about my stance. I will never tell someone to stop medication. You're going to probably hear me tell you you need it. I will never tell someone to avoid therapy. It's very, very important. I will never frame professional care as a lack of faith or spirituality. Mental health treatment and spiritual growth are not enemies. If spirituality requires you to ignore your mental health, something is out of alignment. Here's my perspective, and I want to be clear about where I'm speaking from. I'm not claiming to have all the answers or decades of authority. I'm speaking from lived experience, ongoing learning, personal reflection, and a deep commitment to discernment and safety. I've walked through intense inner experiences myself. I've wrestled with questions of faith, identity, meaning, and mental health. And I've seen how damaging it can be when spiritual language is used without grounding or accountability. That's why I approach this topic carefully, not to define anyone else's experience, but to advocate for balance, humility, and support. My work is not about labeling people. It's not about diagnosing. It's not about deciding who is awakened and who isn't. My work is about helping people hear themselves again, clearly, grounded, and whole. And if you're unsure right now, if you're watching this and thinking, "I don't know what's happening to me. I feel confused or overwhelmed. I don't know where I fit," please hear this. You don't have to figure everything out right now. You don't need a label. You don't need to rush meaning. Safety comes first. Stability comes first. Support comes first. Insight follows grounding. not the other way around. If you're navigating big inner experiences and want clarity without being dismissed, spiritualized, or pathologized, I offer clarity sessions designed to help you hear yourself again in a grounded, supportive way. My approach is discerning, trauma-aware, and focused on integration, not escapism. You can find my contact information below if you'd like to connect. And whether you reach out or not, I hope this video helps you choose discernment over denial, grounding over overwhelm, and compassion for yourself and others. Thank you for being here, and take care of yourself.